My name is David Eberly, and I'm the Church and Community Relations Manager here at Lutheran Family and Children's Services of Missouri. Thank you for taking the time to join me today to learn more about healthy relationships and how impactful they are to our long-term physical and mental health. This webinar is one of a series of webinars designed to help promote 4 main points regarding our mental health. First, to provide an understanding of the most common mental health issues that are affecting our society today. Second, to discuss potential warning signs or risk factors associated with this issue. Third, to recommend ways or implement strategies to help someone who might not have healthy relationships in their life. And finally, provide emergency contacts to help provide resources for those who might be struggling with a mental health crisis. So let's begin to talk about what's the difference between healthy and unhealthy relationships, and what we can do to strengthen the relationships we have in our lives currently. Everyone has the desire to be healthy and happy in their own lives. Whether it's committing to a specific diet or training for the next 5K, our society puts a priority on investing in our health. According to 2 separate studies, Americans spent an average of $969 a year on gym memberships and $10,348 a year on healthcare last year. Whether you cut carbs, hit the trails, or practice specific mindfulness techniques, everyone puts different priorities on how they invest in their health. As I talk about these ways to stay healthy, I'm sure you have specific ideas in your own mind. With that being said, how many of you would think investing in your relationships would be one of the key components to staying physically healthy? The role that relationships play in our mental and physical health can be immense. Let's begin to take a look as to why this is. Our relationships fill a fundamental need that we have as humans to belong. Psychologists Roy Baumeister and Mark Leary composed a study that argued the need to belong isn't just beneficial, but a necessary human requirement for our development. Baumeister and Leary claim that human beings are, quote, naturally driven towards establishing and sustaining belongingness, end quote. This drive goes beyond casual acquaintances or sexual interactions. It is a need for meaningful, profound bonding. All of us have relationships in our lives, but how many of them would we describe as meaningful or profound? How can we gauge that? We can begin to answer these questions by learning about what constitutes a, quote, healthy relationship, end quote. Many people model their relationships after what they have seen growing up, their family, friends, what they've seen or read in media, newspapers, magazines, etc. We have ideas and advice we have received throughout our lives, but do we have ways to define healthy versus unhealthy behaviors? My goal is that you can leave this presentation with a clearer understanding of what is considered healthy versus unhealthy in any of your relationships. It has been said that love is blind, and I am sure that as we look back on our lives, we were caught up in feelings of romance or being in a relationship that made it so we weren't evaluating that relationship objectively. This is where the importance of caring, loving relationships come in. In deep infatuation, we might not see negative warning signs, but our friends and family might. Many times there can be confusion or miscommunication when breaking down the differences between relationships, especially romantic ones. With all relationships in our lives, it is a good concept to have self-awareness about what are acceptable boundaries within that relationship. And these boundaries consist of physical, emotional, sexual, social, or digital boundaries. Finally, if someone thinks they need help, it can be very difficult to know how to proceed. Who can I talk to? What am I going to do about this? Isn't this common for everyone? There will be many resources scattered throughout this presentation. I encourage you to keep the information as a reference list. Next, we're going to play a clip from an interview where the CBS Morning News team interviewed a doctor from a Harvard University study on the health and effect of relationships within our lives. Listen to how important he describes relationships to our long-term physical and mental health.
Here's a question for you. If you were going to invest now in your future self, what would you focus on? One of the world's longest health studies sought to find the answer to that question. The Harvard study of adult development began way back in 1938. It followed two sets of young men. Some were from the inner city Boston, and others were those who studied at Harvard. One of the Harvard men was a young John F. Kennedy. Their lives gave researchers evidence that our relationships with others keep us happy and healthy. Dr. Robert Waldinger is the fourth director of the study, which continues tracking the roughly 60 surviving members. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
This is so fascinating to me because when you all started way back when, 75 years ago, it started as adult development, and then you wanted to look at happiness. Why?
What we realized was that we had an amazing resource. We could look at their health, their relationships, their work lives, and all of that added up to how happy they were in their lives. And so we started looking at the whole package, and we've done that over 75 years.
But it's interesting, though, what you were studying, though. You were looking at the size of their skulls, the shape and size, at one point, scrotum and hanging lengths. I don't know what that has to do with happiness.
Yes.
But you looked at many different things to determine what makes a man happy.
Well, the things we think are important change so much over time, and in the 1930s, they thought that some of those things made a big difference in who you were, what your personality was like, what your happiness levels were. Turns out they don't make much of a difference, and now we study very different things.
And the truth is what? What leads to happiness?
Our men found that good, close relationships predicted not just that they would stay happier, but that they would stay physically healthier. And that's the amazing thing.
Right.
This is as important or even more important than, say, avoiding cigarettes, drinking too much?
As important, because the chronic stress of being lonely, of being unhappy, gets into the body and breaks it down over time.
I've heard you say people talk about leaning into work, but really we should be talking about leaning into our relationships. And by that, you mean what? How do we do that?
Well, one way, as a Zen teacher, I think a lot about the importance of how we pay attention. Because if you think about it, giving people our full, undivided attention is probably the most valuable thing we have to offer, but it's really hard to do. Our attention is always being pulled away and fragmented, and these electronic devices that we're so attached to, they're hijacking our attention. But we can look at this in each moment and noticing whether we're giving our full attention to the important people in our lives over time can really make a difference. Yes.
What advice do you have for identifying and cultivating these close relationships that you say are so key to our lifelong happiness?
Simply watch what you're doing each day and who you're with, and seeing if you can pay more and more careful attention to the people you're with. Put aside all your preconceptions and just be there with somebody. It makes a huge difference.
Now, this study was exclusively on men. What about women?
Don't we want to be happy? I'll go first. Nora and I want to be happy.
Yes.
So does Patty. She wants to be happy too.
Because of that, we're studying the second generation. We're studying the almost 2,000 children of these men we followed for 75 years. The children are all baby boomers. They're all in their 50s, 60s, 70s. And we're studying what their childhoods were like and how that predicts what their aging is going to be like. Because it turns out that if you grew up in a particularly stressful environment, your health breaks down sooner. And so what we're going to be able to do is figure out how that works and whether there are particular ways that we can help people who are struggling with difficult childhoods.
Deep, connected relationships provide benefits that impact all aspects of our lives. It should also be noted that when we talk about relationships in this presentation, we are not exclusively referring to romantic relationships. Many of the characteristics should be applied to family, friend, and professional relationships, each in their own respective way. As we continue, think about how you can integrate different ideas that you hear into the relationships in your lives. So in order to get started, we need to properly develop a definition. What is a healthy relationship? Since everyone has different needs, it would be impossible to categorize all relationship personality types. What we can do is look at the common characteristics of those who have expressed being happy in their relationships. We do this through several national surveys where researchers identified the 3 most commonly expressed characteristics as to what people said made their relationships happy. Those 3 characteristics are: first, open communication. People who openly communicate and are receptive listeners tend to participate in more healthy relationships. Within the social constructs of their relationship, they have set up a way in which they're able to express how they are feeling while also understanding the needs of their partner. They listen to what the other person says. They actively work to better understand their needs and can find ways to compromise. Investing in open communication helps people express love and compassion through support and encouragement for their partner. Next, mutual respect. While respect is fragile, it is very powerful to every relationship. Balancing self-interests and your partner's interests is a skill that has to be continually nurtured. If you can invest in open communication, there is a better opportunity for understanding your partner's feelings and desires. There is no single formula for how to do this best, but finding ways to compromise while caring for each other's feelings shows respect. Ideally, we want to express our appreciation and love for our partner without sacrificing any love or respect for ourselves in the process. Finally, healthy boundaries are critical in establishing healthy relationships throughout our life. Many people don't know where to draw the line in many different situations in their life. Again, starting with communication, it is helpful and necessary to let your partner know what actions are and are not acceptable. Make an effort to understand their boundaries also, and see how they're comparable to yours. There may be differences that need to be addressed for the relationship to maintain its health. We must also be aware that boundaries can change as a relationship progresses. When you have open communication and respect for that person, you will naturally want to become more vulnerable with them and have an easier time communicating your wants and needs from the relationship. Having these open and vulnerable conversations will help your partner know and respect your limits as you know and respect theirs. Since communication is vital to the health of any relationship, let's take the time to share a few ways in which you can promote healthy conversations within your relationships. First, find the right time. If you are bothered about something and want to talk, find a time when you and your companion are calm, not rushed, and able to focus. Not every situation requires immediate attention. However, festering issues can become resentments quickly when they are left unaddressed. Next, talk face to face. Text, phone calls, emails, or posts can easily be misinterpreted. If you cannot collect your thoughts, write them down beforehand and use them if needed. Giving someone your personal attention shows that you respect their time, their responses, and prioritize their relationship. Do not attack. Avoid using you statements, such as, "You are driving me crazy," or "It would be nice if you listened to me every once in a while." These statements can be harsh and accusatory. Instead, try using I or we statements, such as, "I feel like you're not understanding what I'm telling you," or "I'm feeling unheard. Can we take some time to talk?" These statements allow you to express what you are feeling while not attacking or demeaning your partner. Being honest. Sometimes the truth hurts, but it is critical to having healthy communication. Admit your mistakes. Avoid making excuses,
and express what you are feeling honestly. This does not mean that you have to be brutally honest to accomplish this. Address what is bothering you, but try to do so in a respectful and caring way for that other person. Finally, try using the 48-hour rule. If your partner does something that deeply troubles you, you need to address it for the health of the relationship. Now, this does not mean that it has to be done immediately. If you are uncertain as to whether to bring it up or not, try waiting 2 days and see how you feel after. If you're still upset, address it and do so in a proper fashion. If it isn't bothering you anymore, then your answer is just to let it go. This is a helpful trick when dealing with sensitive situations. One inevitability in any relationship is that there will be conflict. Fights are present in the healthiest of relationships and are essential for growth between partners. Sometimes they can get ugly quickly, while other times they might just be scratching the surface of a deeper, unaddressed problem. Here are a few suggestions to consider if you're wanting to evaluate if the conflict you are experiencing is beneficial or detrimental to your relationship. First, find the real issue. Many small conflicts escalate because they are a symptom of a bigger need that is not being met. Trying to address the bigger needs can cut out the bickering and constant quarrels that can erode any relationship. Next, agree to disagree. If you can't resolve an issue, sometimes it might be best just to drop it. Focus on the things that matter. If the issue is too big to be avoided, then that might be a sign that you two are not compatible. Finally, compromise whenever you can. Easy to say, very hard to do. Finding a middle ground allows satisfaction for both of you. This takes creativity, understanding your partner, and respecting your own self-interest as well. Take time to step outside the situation and evaluate how important this issue is to you. If you are still uncertain as to how to proceed, reach out to a friend or family member for their advice. As important as boundaries are to every relationship, it is quite common that many people never take the time to properly establish what their boundaries are with their partner. Since boundaries come in many shapes and forms, we're going to take a few moments to suggest a few strategies that can be helpful when establishing a diverse range of boundaries for yourself. First, addressing emotional boundaries. Be comfortable being you. Many people place their identity in being in a relationship, whether it's a platonic or a romantic one. They believe they only have value if someone else shows them attention. Make sure that you are comfortable with your own identity, your needs, your feelings, and your goals. How can you expect to love and respect someone else if you can't love or respect yourself? Saying, "I love you." This can happen at different times in a relationship. If someone says it and you don't feel that way, don't feel like you have to respond back with it. You may not be ready yet. Tell that person how their sentiment made you feel, and then share your goals for the relationship moving forward. You are responsible for yourself. You cannot control how anyone else responds to your words or actions. Be considerate and respectful toward others, but do not try to take responsibility for their feelings or emotions. It is not your job to fix them or save them or tell them how they should feel. It is important to have time away from a partner or best friend and enjoy the other relationships in your life. Having family and friends help promote multiple secure attachments, which are key components to our long-term physical and mental health. Also, time alone and self-care are critical to having a healthy self-identity. You should never feel trapped into spending all of your time with just one person. We're going to break up our physical boundaries into two sections: intimate and non-intimate physical boundaries. As for intimate boundaries, take your time. There is no authority that states you have to go this far by this time with a romantic partner. If anyone touches you or does anything to make you feel physically uncomfortable, express it to them immediately. Secondly, talk ahead of time. Early in your relationship, make sure you have a conversation about what physical interactions are and are not acceptable. It is equally as important to make sure that you continue to have these conversations often and honestly as your relationship progresses.
Next, sex isn't a currency. You are never required to do any sexual activity because you owe them or feel like you have to. A loving relationship involves give and take, but all sexual activity should be mutually consensual. Finally, for non-intimate physical boundaries, we first want to make known what is and is not acceptable right away. Just like in intimate boundaries, it is important to communicate what is and isn't acceptable behavior for you. Talking to your family, friends, or coworkers about what is welcomed and unwelcome touch can help prevent miscommunication or violation of boundaries. Be clear, be polite, but also make sure you communicate what is and isn't acceptable for you, and ask if there is anything for them that you need to be made aware of. Finally, do not assume anything. People grow up in different social environments. Some are very close, with few boundaries, where others value their personal space and their individuality. What may be an innocent sign of affection for one person could be a violation and inappropriate for someone else. The impact that technology has had on relationships has been nothing short of astounding. Text, posts, tags, chats, and videos have created its own effect on relationship dynamics. We want to share our feelings and connections with all the world. However, we need to be mindful of the effects this has on ourselves and others, both intentionally and unintentionally. So in doing this, where do we start? Each person should work to understand the impact of their digital footprint. Start with thinking about what you are comfortable sharing on social media and what restrictions you should put in place. Once you have established your own digital boundaries, you need to communicate this to your companion, friends, or family. We put together a few questions to start the conversation, but the digital world changes faster than we can prepare. Be intentional about your digital footprint. Also remember, passwords are private. As part of your boundaries, you need to respect your right to privacy. It is important to have control over what you say, post, tweet, or send out into social media. Avoid letting other people have access to your social media accounts and their passwords, so you can control the narrative and make sure nothing gets shared that you don't want. Finally, photos, videos, and sexting. Countless people have been humiliated, objectified, fired, or blackmailed because of sexually explicit material they put online. I cannot overstate this next sentence enough. Once anything is uploaded to the internet, you lose all control over what happens to that media. Whether it is accidental, intentional, or malicious, sharing intimate images or videos cause far more harm than appreciation from within a relationship. We can now see how much work, intentionality, communication, and vulnerability is required to maintain a healthy relationship. It is an investment of our time and effort to connect with people who we are attracted to and appreciate. But what about the relationships in our lives that struggle with communication, proper boundaries, or being treated with proper respect? These are all indicators of a possible unhealthy relationship. Unhealthy relationships are rooted in disrespect and selfishness by one person. These relationships may have polarizing communication habits, where issues are fought over or not discussed at all. The balance of control within the relationship can become one-sided,
Trust can erode away in the other person, and boundaries may be disregarded. One person may become jealous of you spending time apart or with other friends or family members. One person may repeatedly pressure the other to do something that they are uncomfortable with, whether it be physical, social, or digital. Any one of these examples can contribute to an unhealthy relationship dynamic. Sometimes the line between feeling good and feeling bad when you're with someone is unclear or blurry. Here's a few tips to help you address unhealthy aspects that you may see in any of your relationships. First, identify the strengths and challenges in your relationship. Write up or type up your own list and have your partner do the same independently. Compare what you come up with. Use these lists as a discussion point or an opportunity to have a quote-unquote State of the Union for your relationship. Second, talk about the hard stuff. We mentioned this before, but communicate any resentments, issues, or concerns you have about your companion to them. You might think the issues that are bothering you are not a big deal, but avoiding conflict commonly leads to making smaller issues larger over time. Find time in person, one-on-one, to address these issues with respect and love for the other person. Also, we must be prepared for our partner to bring up any issues they may have with us. If they do so, we need to listen, accept their feedback, work to try to find solutions, and respect the opinions that they are sharing. This is all under the assumption that they are treating you with respect and care. If the person becomes verbally or physically abusive, do not engage back in any verbal or physical abuse. Remove yourself from the situation and reevaluate what the next step should be in a safe, secure environment. Third, understand, identify, and accept your mistakes. As you and your companion try to find issues that need to be addressed, look for your role in anything that comes up. Take responsibility for any harm you may have caused, and strategize about any changes that you can make, both short-term and long-term. Fourth, identify your conflict management and resolution style. As you and your partner are working on your issues, be aware of your own conflict resolution style and approach. Some examples of different conflict resolution styles are someone who avoids confrontation, simply hoping the issue will resolve itself. Someone who is accommodating, tries to take steps to satisfy the other person's concerns at their own expense. Someone who is a natural compromiser will work with their partner to find solutions that will partially satisfy both people. Someone who is competing will try to satisfy their own desires at the expense of all other people involved. And finally, someone who is collaborating works to find solutions that resolve all issues for all parties. Each style has its own set of strengths and weaknesses. But if we are aware of our conflict resolution approach, we can work to implement strategies that help us navigate through our deficiencies. Finally, be patient, be persistent, and be willing to get help if need be. Learning to communicate better, working on making personal adjustments, and trying to address conflict in more constructive ways takes a lot of time and energy. Be patient with progress, but persistent through any struggles you may experience. Make sure you have other people available to help you and support you in reaching your goals. If you do not see progress within several weeks or months within your relationship, be willing to talk to a couples therapist or maybe explore the option that this relationship just isn't working. It can be very difficult to notice unhealthy behaviors while you're in the relationship. This is why it's important that we do not isolate ourselves from family and friends. Their input can help share an outside perspective that might not have been thought about. The list given here shows potential red flags for unhealthy behavior that we should work to keep an eye out for. If you witness any of these red flags, it does not mean that you must intervene immediately. Be aware of concerning behaviors
and evaluate how they progress throughout your relationship. We will discuss strategies for addressing concerning observations later in this presentation. First, we need to look at what happens when a relationship goes from unhealthy to abusive. An unhealthy relationship can turn abusive when one person demonstrates the need for power and control over the other. As with unhealthy relationships, the abuser erodes away at the respect for the other person and their boundaries. The control may start out innocent, like a need for your affection or attention. This narrative can change when your companion begins to insult, threaten, or demean you when their needs aren't being met. Abusive relationships take a severe toll on the abused. The abuser dismisses the thoughts, feelings, opinions, and physical safety of their companion. The abused person can feel helpless and possibly even hopeless. In addition, most mental abusers are adept at convincing the victim that the abuse is his or her fault. Abusers can convince you that you do not deserve better treatment, or that they are treating you this way to quote-unquote help you. This begins a cycle where the abusive behavior can reoccur while the abused person feels trapped. Notice the signs of an abusive relationship. If you observe any of these behaviors in any relationship, be very concerned and accelerate your plan to address these issues as soon as possible. While power and control motivates different methods that someone can manipulate their partner, there are multiple types of abuse. The chart shown here gives a quick outline of verbal, emotional, physical, sexual, or gender abuse. Take a few moments to look over what effect each behavior has, examples of that behavior, and what warning signs you can look out for. As stated earlier, text, tags, posts, tweets, chats, or videos have created their own effect on relationship dynamics. The concept of digital abuse has gained much notoriety within the past decade. According to the CDC, 1 in 4 dating teens is abused or harassed online or through text by their partners. The rise of digital abuse has increased exponentially due to accessibility and detachment from human interaction. Cyberbullying falls under the label of digital abuse as well. According to the Cyberbullying Research Center, the percentages of individuals who have experienced cyberbullying at some point in their lives has nearly doubled from 2017 to 2016. Listed are just a few ways in which people can experience digital abuse. The following video will give an accelerated example of what digital abuse can look like.
I never thought he would hit me.
I never saw the signs. I never saw the signs.
I didn't see the signs.
Oh my god, he asked me out!
Yo, bro, I heard you asked out Amanda.
Yeah, man, I finally did. She's all mine.
When who's in charge? He's just kind of like, you know, he's just like,
That's a cheese.
I love cheese.
I mean, cheese is awesome.
It totally is.
Yeah, it's like,
I love you, babe.
Aw, baby. I love you more. What a funny movie. Ashley would love this.
what? Why are you bringing her up? I thought tonight was supposed to be our night.
Of course, baby, of course it is. I didn't mean anything by it. What are you doing? Give me back my phone. Why are you looking at my phone? You don't trust me?
Shut up. Who's David? Why is he texting you?
I don't. He's in my bio class. Relax. We're just working on a project.
Don't give me that. You're just lying to me. You're pathetic.
She better come back. I love her too damn much. I'm sorry, babe. You're everything to me.
Why would you let him do that?
Some gentleman
I don't know what Nick finds in her.
Why do you post that picture of me? Everyone in school saw it.
I just wanted to show you off. You're overreacting. Who's that? Give me your phone.
So just how prevalent are abusive relationships? Here is a sampling of some national and local statistics for you to decide. So now it's time. You've reached a point where your observation and instincts tell you that you need to intervene. Let's begin to put together a plan for how best to have a difficult conversation. First, you want to talk with that person one-on-one in a private environment. Show them how important they are to you by giving them your full and undivided attention. Your approach will be the most important. You must begin and maintain with your expression of love for them. Let them know that you are concerned and want to know if the issues you have noticed are concerns for them as well. The hardest part may be being supportive and non-judgmental, especially if you feel that there is abuse present. You must respect their feelings and their perspective. You cannot control how they feel or what they think. You do not need to be a savior. What we can do is voice our perceptions, honestly and thoughtfully expressing the red flags we have seen, and listen to their reactions. We want to avoid blame, telling them what they think or feel, or giving them instructions about what they need to do next. This will only push them away from your conversation. You must respect that they are in control of their thoughts and actions. If things become aggressive or too difficult emotionally, you can always come back to the conversation later. There will likely not be a resolution after one long heart-to-heart talk. You may also need to accept that your friend or family member does not want to change, even though they are aware of any dangers. This is not easy, nor should it be taken lightly, but this is how healthy relationships grow. If someone confides to you that they need help with an abusive relationship, it is important to understand the severity of the situation. If there are issues that involve physical or sexual abuse, call 911 immediately. Try to keep them in a safe and private environment, and stay with them until professional help arrives. You will also want to try to remove anything that could be used as a weapon from the environment, in the case of suicidality. If they are not in immediate danger, work with them to find resources for their problems if they would like. Listed on this slide are resource guides to national, statewide, and St. Louis-based agencies that specialize in abusive relationships. The hotline numbers are local and national agencies that can help in a myriad of ways. Help your friend get connected with counselors, social workers, or other mental health professionals to help them work through the abuse they are experiencing. Continue to be supportive and confidential to your friend during this process. Barring an emergency, many need continual support and care for improvements to be made. It is also common for the abused to return to their abuser. If you love them and know that they need help, you should try to remain patient
and continually support them, no matter how personally frustrating this may be. Remember, you cannot control their feelings or actions. Prevention strategies for digital abuse are continually evolving with the technology. Listed here are a few tips that may be helpful in limiting your digital footprint. When in doubt, err on the side of privacy and security over convenience and trusting others with your digital information. The website ipvtechresearch.org is an interdisciplinary research team led by faculty at Cornell University in New York. For those who are good with technology, this group has developed free resources that encourage safety for any victim of intimate partner violence. They provide privacy checkups, as seen on this slide, to walk you through keeping your apps, social media, and devices safe. They offer a tech assessment questionnaire to help you discover common sources of IPv tech abuse. They also have tools that you can use to see if you are being tracked via your devices. Now, I know this all may sound alarming, but the information is meant to build awareness of how far people have gone previously to abuse loved ones. I believe it's better to have this info and not use it than need it and not have it. I would like to end today with an overall synopsis of the relationship spectrum. Relationships are ever-changing and can experience difficult times. They can make us into better people or turn us into being something we are not. It can be hard to define what a relationship is or whether a conflict is being handled in a healthy way. And there is no one-size-fits-all formula for making relationships healthy. What we can do is be aware of red flags, learn to be an engaged and empathetic listener, speak truthfully but respectfully, and be patient with those we love. I hope that you can leave today with a better understanding of what makes our relationships healthy versus unhealthy versus abusive. Take the time to celebrate the healthy relationships in your life. Love, affection, communication, and appreciation should always be uplifted and celebrated. Let those you love know how much they mean to you. I thank you very much for your time and attention today. Navigating through the relationships in our lives is extremely complex, but it is only through understanding that we can begin to take the first steps to progress. If you or anyone you know think they would like to speak with a mental health professional, I would urge you to reach out to us here at Lutheran Family and Children's Services of Missouri. Our licensed or provisionally licensed counseling staff are prepared to handle any need that you may have. We provide counseling sessions for children, teens, adults, couples, families, and the elderly. For more information, please call us at 866-326-LFCS. Again, thank you for your time and attention today, and God bless you.